Today on Dr. Phil, is it possible for a woman to violate a man?
Were you negligent?
He did tell me to stop.
He claims his former girlfriend
I kept trying to fight her off. I couldn't get away.
sexually assaulted him.
He said you used one arm to pin him down, the other one to unzip his pants.
I didn't force myself on him.
Chris is on the phone, so you're okay with her becoming a registered sex offender and going to the penitentiary?
For all the things that I went through, yes.
Let's do it. If we're going to do something here that matters, then we got to deal with the truth.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
If I can help get this family back on track, are you willing to do that?
Ready, free. Take.
This is going to be a changing day in your life. Go, Dr. Phil. Well, now I'm going to tell you, you may have heard about my guest today, but they say they wish you hadn't heard of them. In our first story, it's not every day you hear about a man being raped by a woman. But Chris claims his ex-girlfriend Jessica raped him and got pregnant in the process. Take a look.
A young father claims he was raped by an old girlfriend, and he doesn't think he should have to pay child support.
She climbed into my lap, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Well, you know you want me." I said, "No, I don't."
Chris claims he was raped by his old girlfriend, Jessica Fuller.
A guy not wanting to have sex with somebody, that seems impossible.
Chris says one night, in the backseat of a friend's car, it happened.
I kept trying to fight her off, fight her off, fight her off, slammed the hand over the lock. I tried to get out. I couldn't get away.
She got pregnant and had their son, Joshua. Chris was never a part of his son's life. Now the state of Michigan wants Chris to start paying child support.
I'm the victim of a crime. Why should I have to pay the perpetrator?
Well, Jessica says the sex was consensual, and Chris never mentioned rape until he was faced with having to pay child support.
When Chris and I first started dating, we were both 14. When it came to contraception, we didn't use anything. We were together for about 3 years before I had gotten pregnant. He claimed that I got pregnant because I raped him. Chris never had to fight me off. He never had to tell me stop in any way. Neither one of us ever said no. It was in a hospital when I told Chris that I was pregnant, and he said, "I can't believe this," and he stormed out of the room and he screamed at his mother in the hallway and said, "She's pregnant again," and he left me there. I never asked Chris for child support. I told him that I had to fill out papers for it, and he denied that it was even his son. I learned that Chris claimed that I raped him through a reporter. I was stunned. I would never think that somebody would ever use something as serious as being raped to try to use it for their own personal gain, just so they don't have to send a check every month.
Okay, Jessica is here with me. Chris is on the phone listening, and I'm going to be talking with him in a bit. But we heard his tape piece first, yours second, so I want to talk to you first and then him second, because I want to keep everything balanced here. Do you say you did not rape him because you just think the concept of a woman raping a guy is just not credible, that just doesn't happen?
No, absolutely not. I know it can happen. You know, anything is, definitely possible. Anybody can be raped. I say it didn't happen because I did not force myself. It was 100%, we both agreed to it 100%. Whether a child came out of it or not, shouldn't have any bearing on what he has with his son, what kind of relationship he has with Joshua.
Okay, but you have said some things to us and to other media along the way that I've put together that, with my understanding of the definition of rape and consensual, sound very close to you fitting the definition. And I'm not saying that was your mindset, not saying that was your intent,
right,
but I'm trying to find out what was really going on here. Now, you guys have dated on and off for like 3 years, right?
Yes.
And I think Chris said that you guys have broken up like 25 times.
Yeah.
So this has been on again, off again?
Yes.
And so you were actually breaking up this night?
Yes, I broke up with him early that morning.
But yet you're having sex with him.
We did.
In the back of the car that night.
We did have sex that
And
night.
you said that you initiated the sex.
No, it wasn't to be honest, I really don't remember who initiated what. I just remember us making out on it's kind of like a balcony thing. You can go, up the stairs to look over the water, and that's where it started.
Uh-huh. But that's not where it ended.
No, that's not where it ended.
Where did it end?
It ended in my friend's car.
In the back seat of the car?
Yes.
Okay. And the first time you had sex, it was in the back seat of the car?
Yes, in the back seat of his car.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that old saying, get a room?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you haven't been charged with any crime here, so you're not facing any criminal responsibility here. But you had gotten pregnant earlier that year.
Yes, I did.
And you had a miscarriage.
Yes.
Sorry for your loss on that. I'm sorry that happened to you. And this was a couple of months later, right?
It was a month later when I had conceived again.
Okay. And your doctor had said that post-miscarriage that you would be extremely fertile.
Right.
Right? That there's high risk here. Okay. And you had sex with him. You're in charge of your body. He's in charge of his. That's
Correct.
my view. Okay. Now, you're in charge of your body. Did you want to get pregnant?
No, I did not
Did
want
you
to get
want to have a
pregnant.
baby with the boy you broke up with that morning?
No.
Then why are you having sex with him in the back seat of a car that night with no birth control whatsoever?
To be honest, I don't know. I
Well,
wasn't
I don't know
thinking.
isn't an answer. You had no birth. You were taking no birth control.
No, I was not.
He had no condom.
No.
You didn't even make an effort to control it. So this is what I'm trying to get to. You get in the back seat with this guy, and you get on top of him, right? You said you crawled on top of him.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. And you knew, you had a medical professional tell you are extremely fertile, you have no birth control whatsoever, and you consciously, willfully, purposefully have sex with this guy.
Yes.
Did you fail to take proper care against getting pregnant?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you were definitely negligent.
Yes.
Okay, and so when you got on top of him, was he aware that you were
Yes.
highly fertile?
Yes, he was.
And
he was there in the
did he
hospital.
ever at any point say, stop?
He did tell me to stop. He did. He said, whoa, hold on a second.
Okay, so he did say, stop, hold on, wait a minute.
Yes.
And then you wound up finishing anyway.
Yep, yep.
Because he said that, wait a minute, hold on, I want out of here. No, this is not a good idea. Don't want to do this. Don't want to be a dad. Don't want to get pregnant. Not ready for that. He reached for the door and he says, you reach over and slam the lock down.
No.
Put your hand on the lock and said, and so the door didn't work.
No.
That didn't happen.
No. Okay. No, he was very much stronger than I was.
Well, but you were on top of him.
Yes, but there was enough room in the vehicle for him to push me off. There was enough room for him to get away, if that were the case.
He said you used one arm to pin him down, the other one to unzip his pants while you were sitting on top
Wow.
of him.
I sound pretty crafty. No, that never happened.
I'm just asking.
Never.
I'm just asking because it seems to me like you were being pretty reckless that night.
I was, yes.
We've agreed that you were reckless, that you were negligent.
Yes.
And the question is, did you coerce?
No,
which would equate to rape.
I definitely, made some bad choices that night. Everybody's done it, but that night was not, I didn't physically force myself on him. I'm not that dominating. I'm not. I did not do that. If he would have said, no, get off, I want out, I would have gotten off and he would have gotten out.
Now, you said he never brought this up until you filed for child support.
Yes.
But he says that he, in fact, contacted the sheriff's office a few weeks afterwards.
Why wasn't I arrested? Why wasn't I ever spoken to? I never had anything until a few months ago when I heard about it in an article when a reporter called me.
Quick poll in the audience. If you think it's possible for a woman to rape a man, raise your hand. That's almost everybody. If you think, no, don't get it, not possible, raise your hand. That's a few think, no, not possible. So most people think that it is, at least conceptually, a possibility. All right, we have to take a break. And I want to hear what Chris has to say about this. We'll be right back.
After I told Chris that the state was requiring me to go after him for child support, he called me names like, you nasty bitch, you whore, he's not mine, you slut, you slept around. I'll just tell everybody that it was statutory rape. I won't have to pay a thing.
I'm the victim of a crime. Why should I have to pay the perpetrator?
I never thought that he would have went that low.
Well, that was Jessica talking about her ex-boyfriend Chris's reaction when she told him that he had to pay child support. Now, Jessica's here today because she wants people to know that she is not a rapist. And so your point is, if somebody gets on the internet and searches you up, bang, your name comes up associated with having raped someone.
Correct.
And so you're saying, I hate that. I don't want that to be the case. Now, Chris is on the phone, and he does not want to interact with you at this point.
It's fine.
So he's been listening to you, and you can listen to him, but if you will, you step to the side here conversationally and let me talk to Chris, and if he wants to say something to you, that's up to him. He can, but I told Chris it would just be he and I talking. Chris, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Have you been listening so far?
Yes, I have.
And what do you agree or disagree with that has been said?
Well, I disagree with the fact that she wanted to get pregnant because that was very obvious to everybody. It seemed to be, except for me. I mean, I had people telling me all the time that that's all that she wanted, and I kind of looked over it. I mean, she was the first girlfriend I'd ever had, and I put a lot of trust into her, even though, you know, there was a lot of heartache on my part. I mean, she broke up with me constantly to be with other guys. So, you know, also, not that it's a major thing, but I was 15 and she was 16. She was almost 16 when we met. Mm-hmm. There was never a conversation about finishing during what happened to me either. There was never anything like that. I said I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do that. And the only coercion there was her saying, you know, you want to continue. You want to keep going, and I didn't. You know, I didn't want to be a dad. I did want to get out of the car, and there was not enough room to push her off because her back was against the passenger seat that was leaned back. I couldn't get out.
Okay, now at this point, so you're saying that Jessica is the first girl that you had sex with?
Yes.
At 15 years of age?
Yes.
And the two of you had gotten pregnant before. Was that your child?
See, that's the thing. I don't know because she also had a sexual relationship with other guys as well in between her relationship with me. Uh-huh.
Now, is it your understanding that she had sex with you that night in the car, and if it was rape, that's not sex, that's rape. Those are two very different things.
Absolutely.
But for the purposes of this conversation, she had this interaction with you that night in the car, and then she went somewhere after you.
Yes.
And had sexual relations with someone else.
Just hours later.
Okay. Do you know that this baby in question is yours?
There was a paternity test done.
Okay,
yes.
so it definitely is yours. Okay, so I want to clear that up. Now, when you guys got out of the car, and you did get out of the car after this, correct?
Yes.
Were you asking her to come home with you?
No, not at all. We got back into the car. Our friends came back from the beach because that's where they were. They were down on the beach when this occurred. Mm-hmm. And in the time in waiting, I got out of the car. I sat on the back of the car with my head in my hands. I didn't speak to anyone. They came back. We got back in the car. They took me home and dropped me off.
Did you feel violated, or were you afraid that you had just gotten her pregnant because you knew she was high risk at that point?
No, I did feel violated because throughout our relationship, we had a consensual relationship prior to this. And, you know, it seems like as soon as she got the miscarriage is when she got even more aggressive. I mean, she was always aggressive to begin with in our relationship, but it seems like this is where she took it to a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys ever live together after this incident?
Yes, because she didn't have anywhere else to go at the time, and my mother took her in. I hadn't told anybody at this point what had happened. I just wanted to block it out.
Well, isn't it kind of odd that you would move your rapist into your home?
Well, they see that wasn't my decision necessarily. That was more my mother's, because she was living with us before this happened, because her family had left her at the hospital when she had that miscarriage. So she moved in with us after the fact, and she moved out just about a day before this happened, and she had nowhere else to go after that, and my mother took her back. And like I said, after it happened, I didn't really know how to respond. I wanted to block it out. I wanted to pretend like it never happened.
Did you ever have sexual relations after the night in question?
No.
With her? You never had sex again?
No.
Jessica says that you were together for 3 months after this happened.
Yeah, there was 2 months.
2 months.
She was living here with, because she had nowhere else to go.
Uh-huh. So did you get along?
There were times where things were okay, but for the most part, no.
Okay. Is rape too strong a word here? Was this something that you have some ownership in, no ownership in? Is rape too strong a word to use here?
No, I don't think it is. Because I did, in fact, tell her no. I tried to get away from her, and I couldn't get away. I mean, I had no choice but to give up after fighting it for at least 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't get away.
Well, I have to ask the question that's on everybody's mind, because we're looking at a picture of you right now. You look to be a very nice-looking, clean-cut young man. You look to be very healthy and strong. I think it would beg the question, were you not able to overpower her, defend her, turn away from her, rotate your body to one side, do something to avoid this having happened?
What you see now is a product of a lot of hard work to get myself back into shape, because when this happened, I really was not a very big guy. I was about 150 pounds, if that. I wasn't very strong. I never lifted a weight in my life until just only less than 2 or 3 years ago. I was not a strong guy, and after the fact of everything that happened, I blew up in weight. I gained about 70 pounds just from sheer depression, and I basically fed my feelings. I blew up, and it's not until about 2009 that I finally started to lose weight and get control of my health and my own weight again. And I feel now that I have to go to the gym to maintain some kind of strength. I don't know if it's something that's subconscious because of what happened, but, that's just how I am now.
Do your parents believe that you were raped?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, she admitted in our living room in front of my parents that she had said, that I had said no during this whole thing, and that I tried to get away.
We'll be right back. Now, you understand that rape is a felony, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And that if she is convicted of rape, if someone said, okay, we're going to start drilling down on this, figure out that she raped this young man, that's a felony. She could wind up being a registered sex offender and do any number of years in the state penitentiary for a felony.
Yes. Is
that your hope and intent here?
Honestly, for what happened to me, yes.
Okay. So you're okay with her becoming a registered sex offender and going to the penitentiary?
For all the things that I went through and the psychological damage that I went through, yes. Mm-hmm. I know that there's other guys that she's been in relationships with that she was very aggressive in, that I've spoken to. So I know that I'm not the only one who's gone through at least the aggressive part of her. I just think I caught the extreme.
Okay, and what is your son's name?
Joshua.
And how is your relationship with him?
I've never, I think I met him one time when he was an infant, but I've never had any interaction with him.
But you understand he is your biological child, even though you believe he was a product of rape?
Yes, and that's why it's been such a difficult thing to cope with. A lot of people say to me, how can you not be a part of this child's life? But the thing is that, yes, he's an innocent child, but I'm also innocent as well.
Okay, but we can agree he's done absolutely nothing wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, and if his mother goes to the penitentiary and becomes a registered sex offender, then what will happen to the child?
See, that's where I'm not sure, because I know that with everything that happened, I'm not a unbiased person with him. You know, I don't think that it would be fair for him to grow up with a father who went through what he did, and you know, that now he is a product of this rape.
This happened in, was this in January of '06?
This happened, the exact date is, I don't really remember the exact date. It was towards the very end of 2005 or the very beginning of 2006.
Okay, and you did not level these rape allegations until '09?
Well, yeah, officially, yeah, in the courtrooms, yes, that's when it got out that way. But no, I had been talking to people, and everybody knew what happened, you know, only a few short months after it did happen.
Uh-huh. And, of course, her position, and I'll let you respond to this, her position is that your allegation of rape coincided with her move to get child support from you, and that the one defense against liability for child support is that this was non-consensual, and so you didn't willingly participate in the making of this child.
Yeah, that is an absolutely false statement.
Well, no, that's not false as to the law.
No, not to the law, no.
You're saying it's false that that's why you brought it forward.
Exactly. I mean, I look at it this way, you know, I'm married to a woman who has 2 children that are not mine, that I'm taking care of, that they don't even get child support. You know, if it was trying to get away from a child, why would I get myself involved in a relationship with 2 children that aren't mine?
Uh-huh. And I understand that you've had a legal setback in that the court has denied your motion to dismiss her claim for child support.
Yes.
So a court has deemed that the test of the law was not met and that you owe the child support.
Yes, and that is what I'm currently paying right now.
Okay. If she dropped her claim for child support, would you drop your allegation of rape?
I don't think that I could do that.
Okay, I'm not suggesting, I'm just asking.
No.
Do you feel that I've given you a fair opportunity to state your side of the case?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to take a break and let you continue listening, and if I have a question, I may come back to you.
Okay.
After the break, I'm going to let Jessica respond, and we're going to hear what a witness has to say. Well, some days on the Dr. Phil Show, we talk about really unusual things, and it is unusual for a male to claim that he has been raped by a female. Now, I will tell you that if you search the medical and psychological and sociological literature, you will find a number of experts that will tell you that this is possible. And you might say, well, you know, how? Because the man has to be aroused. But the truth is that a man can be aroused involuntarily in some respects, in part due to sexual stimuli, in part due to adrenaline, excitement, any number of things. So I think the consensus among experts, at least physiologically, is that this is certainly a possibility. Is it what happened in this case? That's what we're trying to figure out. Jessica has a witness who was there the night Chris says that he was raped. Now, Kim is joining us on the phone. Kim, what happened that night?
Well, I'm not sure what happened previous in the day. I do know Chris and Jessica were no longer dating. My boyfriend at the time and I had picked up Jessica and Chris, and we all went to the beach. They had already started making out in the back seat and kind of getting a little into it. So as soon as we parked, my boyfriend and I had gotten out of the vehicle and walked towards the beach. We ended up just sitting on a bench. Well, we had seen them in the back of the car, and we saw their silhouettes, you know, moving in motions and everything. Once they had finished, they had gotten out, so we had walked back to the car. Everything seemed fine. We all got back into the vehicle. We conversed a little, then we kind of split off into our own personal conversations. Once we had dropped Chris off, he got upset. I believe Jessica had said they were talking about her staying the night with him, so he was upset because she didn't want to stay. Well, my boyfriend had dropped us off to my vehicle. Jessica and I drove to her house. which she rented with the boy that we went to school with. They had ended up starting to make out and get into it, so therefore they went off into the room, and they had sex also that night. And I believe it wasn't until a few weeks after that that nothing became an issue until after Chris had found out about that night.
So you think when he found out that she had sex with someone else, he got offended then?
Yes.
But that's just conjecture on your part.
Yes.
Did he seem upset when you returned to the car?
Not until the end of the car ride when she had told him no, she didn't want to stay the night at his house.
All right, so that's when he got upset. He wasn't upset when you got back, because he said he was sitting on the back of the car holding his head in his hands and he was upset.
He was sitting on the back of the car, but he didn't seem any out of ordinary than just after being exhausted from what he had just done.
So you just don't think it happened in this circumstance?
I do believe that it didn't happen only because I know a few times we had talked Chris into skipping school and they've had sex in the back of my car at the beach.
Chris, is there anything you'd like to say in response to Kim's comments?
Well, I mean, for one, the whole thing where they were talking, where she was just mentioning about at the end of the conversation, or at the end of the car ride where I got into an argument with her, I never said anything the entire car ride because of how upset that I was. You know, I had nothing to say to anybody. I was too upset by what happened. And everything that she is talking about that she says that she thinks happened, well, from the outside it might have looked that way. But I was truly upset because of what had just happened.
And did you want her to stay with you that night?
No, absolutely not.
Leading up to the instance in the car, is it true that the two of you and Jessica, were in fact making out, kissing, hugging, all that sort of thing?
No.
Well, Jessica says you guys were making out ahead of time before you got there to the beach, and Kim says you were making out before you got to the beach. So I just need to be clear, are both of them lying in your view?
Yes.
So Jessica, what's going on here?
It is true, though. I did have sex with another man that night. Not proud of it, but I did. And the reason Chris left me was because of that specific reason. He was living with me at my house at the time. He had found out. I did deny it as much as I could because, you know, I was not proud of that night having sex with two men. Definitely was not proud of that. Chris was my first and only, especially when I got pregnant the first time. That night was the very first time I ever had sex with anyone else other than Chris.
Are you angry that you're being accused of this?
I'm very angry. I mean, rape is a very serious thing. You know, women and men go through it, you know, unfortunately, you know, every day it happens. But to be associated with something so disgusting, it's very, very sickening when nobody wants to believe you, when everybody takes one side and they don't care what the other side is. And when my children find that when they get older, you know, it's sickening to think what could happen because of, you know, him opening his mouth just for whatever reason, you know.
So what are you guilty of here?
I'm probably guilty of not being very responsible. Definitely guilty of letting my emotions and feelings of him and I get the best of me. Definitely guilty of being reckless. Thank you. But the one thing I'm definitely not guilty of is raping him.
Do you believe that he believes what he's saying?
I do.
So you believe that he believes he was raped?
Yeah.
So you don't think he's just making this up? You think he really is hurt by this?
I do.
And he really believes he was raped?
I do. I think he really does feel that he probably got taken advantage of that night. I really do.
Okay. And you agree that you may have initiated, you may have been the aggressor, but you don't think it went anywhere near what someone would think of as rape?
No.
And you agree that you were reckless?
Yes.
That you were negligent? Mm-hmm. That you were irresponsible?
Yes.
Not once, but twice that night?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a lot of bad decisions made all the way around.
Yeah, there was.
Okay, well, we're going to talk more about this as the show unfolds, and you're going to hear some things about what you can do to help clean up this image that you think can stick with you for a long time in job interviews or whatever, if somebody does a search on you and then here this pops up.
Okay.
But you have no criminal charges pending at this point?
None.
All right. Okay, we're going to move on. If you found out your partner was cheating, what would you do? Well, my next guest did something that made international news. An exclusive interview with her next.
Your jilted mistress is getting revenge in a very big way. She's launched a very public campaign against the president of one of the world's largest tech firms.
His ex-girlfriend has plastered cities around the country with huge billboards showing them together in happier times.
You might remember my next guest, Yvonne. Her story made international news. Take a look.
From New York to San Francisco, one mistress turns a private breakup into public payback.
Yvonne Wilkins is the mistress. Charles Phillips, the head of Oracle Corporation, and married. Wilkins apparently had these billboards put up after Phillips reconciled with his wife.
After 8.5 years, I found out that Charles was still married. Because Charles was president of Oracle, it was extremely easy for him to mask his relationship with his wife. He would say to me, I have to go to Europe for 5 days. I have to go to Asia for 4 days. His excuses rolled off his tongue. Because of the red flags, I did hire a private investigator. What I found out was that Charles was still living with his wife. I just felt sick to my stomach. Because I wanted everyone to know that I had a significant relationship with Charles, I put the billboards up to tell everyone that I was this man's partner. I didn't put the billboards up to tell everyone I was a mistress. I loved him, and I thought he loved me.
Now, Yvonne says as soon as the billboards went up, her world came crashing down.
When the billboards went up, and the media started attacking me, calling me a whore, they were calling me a homewrecker. It backfired, and I felt ashamed. I felt that I couldn't go outside, I couldn't leave my house. It was so hard just to walk my dogs every day. It's been 2 years since the billboards went up, and I am absolutely concerned that if I meet someone, whether it's a business associate or my next boyfriend, I'm afraid that the first thing they will do is Google me, because it's what people do these days. They Google everyone. And all that was up there was Yvonne, billboard mistress. Yvonne, Charles Phillips's scorned mistress. Yvonne, psycho. And I'm none of those things. I'm very smart, I'm very funny, and there's nothing that says that online.
Well, Yvonne hasn't spoken to any media in 2 years since everything happened. How is it going for you now?
So for the past 2.5 years, I've moved on. I've started multiple businesses and executive produced a documentary that kind of explains the billboard, what led to the billboard fiasco. And I've written a memoir.
So why talk about it now?
I'm ready to tell my story. I wasn't ready when it initially occurred in January of 2010 because I knew that there was no way I can tell this layered, complicated story in a 30-second interview with the various media outlets that were camping outside of my home and my parents' home.
So why did you put these billboards up?
This was my way to say I was significant. I was not a mistress.
Because you didn't think you were the other woman, and you came to California, you all bought a house together out here?
Yes.
For like $11 million?
Yes.
Tell me about the moment when you decided, I'm gonna buy billboards in multiple cities and put this up there in like 20 by 60 foot sign.
I was driving down the highway and I noticed a billboard that his company had put up for their big annual conference in San Francisco. So I just thought, if Oracle can put up a billboard, I'm going to put up a billboard. And then I just let it go and moved on until the Tiger Woods issue happened. And I've been having unprotected sex with this man for 8.5 years. And I realized at that moment that, oh my God, I'm a mistress. I was a mistress. I wasn't his girlfriend. I was a mistress. And it made me feel sick. I'm a very strong woman. I'm a very intuitive woman. And when things don't feel right or smell right, I question it.
All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, Yvonne says she believed she was the only woman in her partner's life for over 8 years. We'll be right back.
When the Tiger Woods scandal happened, that's when it hit me that I was mistress. And never in 8.5 years did I ever feel led or made to feel like I was a mistress. I was led to believe that I was his partner, that I was his soulmate.
Well, that was Yvonne talking about her shock in realizing that her partner of 8 years had been cheating on her and, in fact, was still married. Now, this is the first time Yvonne speaking out about her story. Would you put these billboards up again today?
Absolutely not. I immediately, within hours of the billboards going up in New York City, I felt extremely regretful, mostly because of what it was doing to Charles professionally. I never in a million years thought that anyone would notice the billboards because it's a picture of Charles and a picture of me. I mean, I drive on the highway every day. I'm sure I pass at least 50 billboards. I can't tell you what billboards are up on Highway 101 or the 10.
Okay, you got a guy that's the head of a 70,000 employee company.
Right.
And somebody puts a billboard with a scandalous backstory up in anywhere on the globe, and you didn't think the media was going to think there's a story here.
Well, honestly, he and I were public, so I kind of felt that, I guess because I didn't factor in the 70,000 employees, I figured that they knew that I was his girlfriend, so they would just say, oh, Charles and Yvonne, and then they would go to the website, and the website I actually created for his 50th birthday that year, and all it was a website. It's an electronic photo album, so there were photos from each year we were dating. There was nothing salacious about the website. It was extremely benign, and when I first came up with the idea to do the billboards, all of my friends were against it. They just said, why, that's crazy, don't do it. And I said, yeah, you're right. And once the Tiger Woods thing happened, I called Clear Channel and said, what does somebody have to do to put up a billboard? So, I mean, it was not, I didn't give it enough thought. So when you asked, would I do it again? No.
But you're kind of transcending all that because instead of trying to get smaller in the World Wide Web and everybody's consciousness, you're seeking to get larger with your memoir, your documentary. You just want to get larger with the full story.
I'm not trying to get larger. If no one reads the book, no one watches the documentary, it's okay. What I want is for my nieces and my nephews and the rest of my relatives to continue to look up to me and to continue to admire me and not have in the back of your mind, or back of their minds, how did Yvonne not know that this was going on? We know Yvonne, she's smarter than that.
All right, we got to take a break. Next, we're going to talk about what you can do if you don't like what people are saying about you on the internet. Is there any hope? Can you clean this stuff up? We're going to meet a man who says, yeah, actually you can. Be right back. Well, today I've been talking to women who say their reputations have been ruined by news headlines and the internet. Now, Michael Furtick is here, and he founded Reputation.com and says people have the right to control and protect their online reputation and privacy. But, Michael, it takes some effort, it takes some doing, right?
the thing to do is to take control of the definition of what the internet thinks is true about you. How do you do that? First, it's very easy to buy a website for yourself, and you might be, in your case, drphil.com, or someone else's case, firstname.lastname.com, and publish a very simple bio of yourself that defines who you are in your eyes. And number two, do the same thing. Twitter.com/firstname, not last name. Not Twitter.com/funnygirlporsche, but first name, last name. Why? Because that shows up high in Google. The last thing I want to be very, very specific about is that social media privacy settings don't work, and I want to make sure that people understand that whatever they publish or is published about them can and will leak out there on the world.
Okay, thank you so much for talking about that. And those 3 points you had, we're going to put on the internet as well. But that's a good idea to get a perfect match tag on a website that comes up so people at least get your side of whatever is going on out there. I hope you join our Facebook page and share your opinions. Also, continue to let me know what you think on the message boards. We do look at that, and a lot of our guests come from the message boards because we do follow-up, and we get on there and see that you felt strongly about it one way or the other, or you thought I was a complete moron, or whatever. Then we bring you here so you can tell me that to my face. Thanks for being here. So long.
Memories can kill ya, but I didn't hear ya. I thought that I could fly, but woke up on the asphalt. I swear there was the last time. I've always been naive,